You know, it's not very often a new brand comes along and makes people stand up and take notice, and that's exactly what this brand is doing. This is a new medium. It's a brand out of the US by the guys that run Iron Shop Provisions, and they've put together this overshirt that I'm wearing right now. And let me tell you, the details on this are amazing. So let's get right into it. So that's right, there's a new company on the scene called A New Medium now. As I said in the beginning, it's from the guys that are behind Iron Shop Provisions. If you've not been to that website, go have a look. Iron Shop Provisions out of New Orleans, Louisiana. They sell and retail all the great stuff that we know and love, all the brands that we know and love, but now they've gotten into their own clothing, which is kind of an amalgamation of, I think, selling the clothes and their love of detail, but also they have some side businesses, which is producing ironworks and really working with metals and that kind of stuff. So I think they've wanted to join their businesses together in terms of making clothing that is durable, stands the test of time, and is just really focused on the detail. And I'll get into that detail in a minute. Now, the guys behind it, Josh and Duncan, are really receptive to wanting to chat. If you wanted to reach out to them for anything, have a chat or ask any questions about their clothing, just do it. I mean, the first time I ever dealt with them was when I was looking for a Studio Dozen shirt that I couldn't find anywhere. These guys had it. They expedited it straight out to me from the US, and no worries at all. They're just awesome guys. So reach out to them if you have any questions at all about this kind of stuff. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that is their first product. It is the Huntsman Overshirt, and it's an absolute weapon. Now, this is a 15-ounce fabric, and it's a fabric that is supposed to be used on uniforms, coats, outerwear, and not really an overshirt. So these guys have taken it and put it into an overshirt. So as you can imagine, it's got the properties of a coat, the weatherproof, the windproof, all that kind of stuff, but it's in an overshirt. So that's just unheard of. But other than the fabric, where these guys really excel in the making of this is in the details. Now, I'm gonna get into that in just a second, but I wanna talk about something that's kind of overlooked with these guys that struck me as soon as the package arrived, and that's the packaging itself. Quite often when you get something from one of these big brands, anything from Japan all the way to some of the big Japanese brands that are coming out of the US and so on and so forth, they'll send you it in plastic. Now, fine, there's hundreds of you, thousands of you out there that won't give a crap about the plastic or whatever the packaging, but I kind of do, And the one thing that struck me with the new medium is every single bit of this, there is no plastic, absolutely no plastic in it at all. And as you know, packaging is not cheap. It's probably a lot cheaper to produce plastic, just shove it in a plastic bag like all the Japanese retailers do. Everything comes in plastic. This is custom made box, custom printed, custom tissue paper, stickers. Oh, I mean, that's probably plastic, but it's absolutely, again, down to details. And that is something that really struck me when it came. And to find no plastic in a package is just, it's unreal, to be honest with you. So well done. So let's talk about the fabric. Now, I spoke about it at the beginning. It's a 15-ounce fabric, so it's quite heavy. And why is it quite heavy? Well, as I said, it's usually used for coats and outerwear. Now, it's a type of cloth they call the pilot cloth. Now, pilot cloth over the years has been shortened to pea cloth or just pea. So if you know or have a pea coat, you know that is a very nautical themed kind of fabric. It's usually wool, it's thick, it's dense, and it's got windproof, waterproof properties. This is the same fabric. It's a pilot cloth or pea cloth, and they've used it to make an overshirt. Now, the fabric is from a UK-based mill. They're only a couple of hours up the road. It's called Hainsworth Mill between Bradford and Leeds, which is, as I said, not too far. They've got great history. They've been around since late 18th century. They used to do the fabrics, the uniforms for the Battle of Trafalgar, the Battle of Waterloo, all those kind of great battles that you see of those great uniforms. They did all of those. They still do them to this day. They do the red uniforms you see of the Queen's Guard with the big hats. They do all of that stuff. And so you can buy this material like the guys at A New Medium have done and just really adapt it to what you want to make and really excel on those details. Now, this is 100% wool, as I said, so it's a little bit scratchy, but you get used to it. It's certainly not a brushed, lovely interior of a flannel. It's 100% wool, and it's got those wool properties that you're going to get with it, but it's still comfortable to wear, and it's made up of new wool, 100% new wool, in fact. So when you hear someone say new wool, what does that mean exactly? It's the first time that sheep has ever been sheared. So it's the first wool off that sheep. And that is the softest wool it's ever going to produce. So you can think of it as a kind of exclusive type of wool that only these guys are using. Right, so let's talk about some of the details. And I want to really focus on this. I want to nerd out a little bit because sometimes some of the stuff from Japan, people put it on a high pedestal and it's not always perfect. As I said, it comes in plastic. I've had buttons fall off recently of some brands shirts that I've barely even worn, and they're expensive, you know. So it's worth calling out brands that are coming up that are focusing on high quality details, because sometimes they may get overlooked. And I'm going to start actually on the buttons. These are naturally dyed, custom made Kuroso buttons. So I mean, they are absolutely beautiful. They've got a really nice kind of pattern to them, and most buttons you see these days from all the big brands are just flat. They're just a flat button, and when you're doing them up, especially on a work shirt, they're very hard. And I said on my previous video, sometimes the button is the weakest link of the whole shirt. They focus on the stitching, all the details, and the button is just flimsy, it breaks. It's really hard to get your fingers under it, especially when you're doing the top ones up. And it's a big pet peeve of mine, and you know, that's why I'm calling it out. But these guys have really gone the next level. So it's a custom dyed, so it's custom dyed for them, natural dye Kuroso button. But when you look down on the button, instead of being flat, it's domed basically. So underneath there's space to get your fingers under, but it's also just a lovely looking detail. The buttons just sit a little bit up from the garment and just make it look that little bit classier. Plus the design on it, plus the stitching is amazing. Now let's go over to the button holes, or the eyelets, or whatever you want to call them. They have the custom stitching on them as well. So on the inside, they're totally surrounded by the white stitching for extra durability, and on the outside as well, they got the stitching as well. Now, normally you wouldn't even notice that, you wouldn't even care, but it adds a neatness to it. Let me show you why. Now, I hate bringing up other brands, but this is the UBS Tricotine shirt that I absolutely love this. It's a great shirt, but, and you may have seen this on the video when I first put it out, when it was brand new. There is stitching around the buttonholes, but look how messy that is. All the stitching coming out, both sides. It's just untidy. And maybe you guys would like that stuff, but from brand new, when it comes like that, detail, you know? Whereas straight out the gate, this is neat. This is neat. This looks great. Perfect. Extra durability. You know it's going to hold up. I know that area never really fails on a shirt, but it's just the little details that catch your eye, you know? When you're paying that much money, you sort of... For me, it's pleasing to see. Again, the UES buttons, there you go. What I'm talking about, they're flat. They're the cat's eyes buttons. They're flat. It's okay to do this up. I really can't do the top buttons up again because it's not that it's too tight, it's just the buttons just hard to get in, but this is a bit different. So yeah, that's an example of the buttons I'm talking about. I really appreciate the detail they've gone into with them. Sorry, I've just geeked out on buttons for like 2 or 3 minutes, so let's get on to something else. I think the lining of this shirt is just another level. They didn't have to do this, to be honest. If they've got custom Japanese herringbone lining, HBT lining. If you ever have anything that's HBT before, you know it's super, after a while, it just gets really super soft. And it's lovely. So they've done it to reinforce the pockets there on the outside, on the inside, sorry, of that. They've taken that from, I think, inspiration from World War II cargo pants. They had this kind of lining. You'll see it on other items as well. People do that occasionally. It really reinforces that stitch, because over time people use the pocket flaps and it starts to rip from these corners. This kind of lining just stops that kind of happening. They've done it along the top there as well, or along the collar, along the shoulder line as well, and it's just a nice little detail. They didn't have to do the HBT lining. That adds an extra cost to it, I would imagine, but it's a really lovely touch. I think the stitching goes without saying. It's flat felled, chain stitch, so just think about when you get your denim, your jeans hemmed, the chain stitching at the bottom that you see in your jeans or throughout your jeans, that is the same as this. They've got white stitching throughout. It's got kind of a great contrast with the camel color. That's the color of this camel. It's just really striking, and you can tell that the stitching is pretty much on point. I've had a lot of shirts before where the stitching has a lot of runoff that you need to cut. This is perfect. It's a lovely, lovely stitch. Stands out. Nothing really much to say, but look at the back of the collar. Look at that detail. I didn't have to do that either. You know, that is reinforcing the collar. Not saying that any of my shirts collars would ever go, but that is that's beautiful. So you have to appreciate that sometimes, I think, as well. So it's really lovely that they've done that there. Their labels are all custom done. This is a new medium. Again, that's a medium. If we're talking about sizing, we'll get to sizing in a minute, but I'm a medium in this one. Right, let's get to the all-important fit. Now, I am 6 foot. I am roughly 80 kilograms. And my chest is around a 41.5, 42 inch chest. And this is a medium for me. And I think it fits just perfect. One thing I noticed about this is the cut I think it's really, really forgiving in terms of there is a lot of room in the top, just maybe because of the way the shoulders are cut, the gussets are cut, but the drape, when it's done up, it just feels lovely. The other thing I notice is, for me, on the medium, the sleeves are of the perfect length. There are other brands out there, focus on motorcycles, obviously, where they have long sleeves, and it's kind of a constant battle to know. You get your usual size, and sleeves are too long, or too short, whatever. In the body is fine as well. It sits at the perfect point. I will say that depending on your watch, and if a lot of guys out there wear large watches, it is a little bit tight to get my watch through. If I've got it on, you can put your watch on after. This is, I think, 42-inch Speedmaster. I think it's 42. But if you've got a smaller watch, like a 36mm watch or anything, I've tried that as well, and it fits just fine. It depends on your watch. And I expect it to stretch after a while. They always do in the button area. But once it's on, it's on. So yeah, overall, I think lots of room in the upper body. Lots of room in the upper body. Tapers nicely, very fitting. So I think it's very forgiving. I like the cut. I like how it sits. Cannot go wrong. What I'd like to see more of, though, so if I had any kind of improvements or personal ideas that I would like. I don't think I've even spoken about the pocket. So obviously you've got your 2 breast pockets, and then you've got a cigarette pocket, they call it, or if you're an Australian, the ciggy pocket. Hate it or love it. Some people might like it. Some people might not. I think for me, I don't smoke. Smoking's bad, okay? I probably wouldn't have a use for this. I kind of love 2 normal breast pockets. So if I had to make a change or a suggestion, I would prefer it without that pocket. But I guess when it's done up, you've got no other pockets anywhere else. It's not a CPO shirt or anything like that. So you need storage. There's your storage. You've got loads of it. Reinforced flaps as well. I think more colors would be fantastic. Now, I think from Hainsworth Mills, they only do, I think, 4 or 5. So I think they do camel, they do a black, they do a navy, they do a royal navy, and they do the red that you see with the Queen's Guard as well. So there's not many colors to choose from. I hope the guys will come up with like the black or the navy in the future. It'd be lovely. But as it stands, camel is good. In terms of wearing it, I've always find it really difficult personally to style this kind of color on the top. I like wearing white shirts, obviously, black shirts, etc. But when it comes to an overshirt or a jacket, I've started getting into, obviously, the tan jackets. But like an overshirt like this, I'm wearing it with a black t-shirt. I think it looks good. But I don't know what to coordinate with the bottom, a black jeans or whatever. So I'm still working out exactly how to wear it. All I know is it's damn comfortable. I've been wearing it for a while. I wore it to work the other day, and it's lovely. I get compliments on it. So you can't really complain about that. I think, as I said, the big factor here is the fabric, and that is why the price is a little bit more. These are around 440 US, but you're getting a fabric that is made for a coat. So, and the details all I went through, the buttons, the stitching, the lining, the reinforcement, and then obviously the weatherproof nature of this overshirt. I was going to say jacket, overshirt. So you're getting a lot for 440, and you can't get it anywhere else. It's brand new from these guys in the US. So I think value for money is there. You'll get a lot of wares out of this, that's for sure. And you'll be supporting a local business in the US as well. Now, I'm a bit late to the game. This has been out for a little while. They don't have many left, as far as I imagine. I think there was a couple mediums and a couple larges and maybe a few extra larges. I'll have to check. But I'll put all the links in the description down below. But I'd really like to get your thoughts on it. If you've got if you've got any opinions on it or suggestions, really drop a comment down below and let me know. I really had fun wearing this and putting this together, and I genuinely think it's really cool that a new brand has come to the market. I've not felt like this since, say, Wonderlooper came. So you've got all your brands that have been in the industry for a while, producing the same kind of stuff. But when a new brands come on board and kind of grow this industry, widen everyone's exposure to all of this stuff, and then start like pushing each other on to produce amazing items and fabrics and things that have just never been done before, it can only be a good thing. So I think well done to the guys for putting this stuff together. I look forward to seeing what they put out. I know they've got some loop wheel tees. They've got a carpenter's denim jacket. I've heard whispers of maybe some flannels in the future, but I'd love to see some outerwear and some more stuff like that. So really happy, and thank you everyone for watching today. And with all that being said, have a great day, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.